I'm Elisa Parker. This is the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. Did you know it is the largest film festival of its kind in the United States? And it is right here in the Sierras in Nevada City and Grass Valley, California. And I love it. Amazing people come from all over the world. It activates our community. And that's a big part of this festival, in addition to the storytelling and solutions, is it really does converge a phenomenal group of people, including our next guest here. We have Sonny DePasquale, and the film is called Bridging Fragments. And we are going back to Costa Rica and one of my favorite animals, the sloth, which is someone being so quick moving. I love just, there's something about the sloth, Sonny. What is it? What is it about the sloth?
Maybe the sloth just reminds us to take things a little slower, enjoy what's around us. Maybe that's why.
It could be. Well, what is it about the sloth, why you wanted to cover this story in the first place?
So I chose to focus on the sloth because they are a very charismatic animal. It's a flagship species where people who might not necessarily have an affinity for conservation or nature in general seem to really love sloths. People really hang on to them. They find them cute or interesting. So it's a great species to kind of be a mascot for the rainforest, because once you get people listening to a story about them, then they'll be able to help protect other animals that share the same space.
So tell us about the film Bridging Fragments.
So Bridging Fragments takes place in Puerto Viejo in Costa Rica and focuses on the work of the Sloth Conservation Foundation. It was done under a nonprofit studio that I founded in 2020 called called Emergent Productions. And the goal of Emergent Productions is to inspire environmental awareness through conservation storytelling. And we're actually named after the highest layer of the rainforest, which is the emergent layer, to kind of symbolize the conservation heroes that are watching over us. And so we really wanted to make a film about rainforest conservation, and we just thought that the work that the Sloth Conservation Foundation was doing was so amazing and would resonate with a lot of people. They are putting in they're putting in wildlife bridges to protect biodiversity and wildlife corridors, working with the community, and it was just amazing to go down there and experience what they do every day.
What are the conditions right now of the rainforest there, and what do we know? What do we need to know about the sloth right now? I mean, I had this conversation with Lana and Jim, who are doing the virtual reality film with it, and you talked about hanging on, and it's like literally people are hanging on to sloths, and it sounds like that's something we necessarily shouldn't be doing with them.
They aren't a photo prop, that's for sure, but they are, I think, a great mascot for rainforest, and they are an extremely vulnerable animal in that ecosystem because they are the world's slowest mammal, and they do have to, they climb down the trees, and then they have to go cross roads where they become vulnerable to cars, to dogs. So protecting rainforests and not fragmenting it too much will just preserve those corridors for sloths to cross tree to tree and other animals to do the same.
So you talk about bridging fragments. So the fragmented part is, tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of a play on words with forest fragmentation.
Okay.
So that's what a really huge issue is that you're getting pockets of trees in rainforest because so much is being taken down for development. So if you can protect these canopy corridors instead of just clear cutting everything, then you'll be protecting the biodiversity that kind of lives up there rather than down on the ground.
Right. So what was some of, it's wild and scenic, what was one of the wildest moments that happened for you in creating this film?
Oh gosh. Well, I would say, there was a landslide. So
what?
Yeah. So you have to be very flexible, I
True.
think, when you're shooting in different places. But it was very exciting. It was a super huge adventure. The production assistant with me, Kathleen Zimmer, she's a longtime friend of mine. So it was just a great time to share with her and to learn about what this organization is doing. But we did get to encounter one of the sloths that they've been tracking. They put these backpacks on these sloths where they get to track them so that they can see how sloths are navigating urban environments. And nothing's ever guaranteed when it comes to wildlife filmmaking or conservation storytelling, but we did end up getting to find one of the sloths they were tracking called Mango. His name is Mango, and he definitely makes the film. Everyone always lights up whenever he's on screen, and that was probably my favorite part of the whole experience, was getting to meet him up close.
Well, what are some of the adventures of Mango? Like, what surprised you in that?
Well, Mango, he lives in an urban environment. So when they found him, he was pretty much on a beach that people would go to. So he wasn't, deep into the forest with other rainforest animals. He was just on the beach,
hanging out.
Yeah. So although these areas are being urbanized, if you do keep the canopy intact, these animals have a way to get across. So that was pretty fascinating.
What is Mango eating on the beach? Like, what is sustaining him there? I'm curious.
Well, there's trees on the beach.
Oh, there are trees. So they're like, there's mangoes.
Yeah, he's not just suntanning.
What is he eating out there? Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah. Well, it's a question you don't really think about. Like, he's hanging out there and how they adapt as well. So, what would you say that, like, this everyday people, right? We watch this, we love the sloths. Of course, Costa Rica is insanely beautiful and wonderful. How can we all be involved in this? Like, what kind of action do you want us to take, given our theme too is real action?
Yeah, I think that, and a lot of the films that we've made at Emergent Productions focus on actionable items that people can do in their own backyards, their everyday life. And a big one that I would say is just protecting native plants.
Okay.
They're very necessary. I come from Florida, which is a very manicured state that has been altered drastically. And if you drive through neighborhoods, I'm sure you will not see a native plant in many of them. And that's something that helps pollinators, helps local animals and wildlife, no matter where you live. If you live in Costa Rica or you live in the United States, it's something that you can do to help the biodiversity in your own backyard.
Awesome. What would you say to everyone about why it's so important to participate in a film fest like Wild and Scenic?
I think it's important because you are meeting like-minded people. You're learning so much. This morning, Bridging Fragments was screening in a block with other short wildlife conservation films, and just within that hour and a half, I have learned so much from vanishing oases in Salt Lake City to the plight of black skimmers in Florida. So it is just a place where you can your knowledge is just exponential if you come to a film festival like this. And so we're just very excited and thrilled that we were selected to be a part of it.
That's great. And we get to meet people like Sonny Bridging Fragments. And I'm sure we're going to see you again because you're working on all other kinds of good stuff.
I hope so.
Thanks, Sonny. I'm Elisa Parker. It is the Wild and Scenic Film Festival right here in downtown Nevada City and Grass Valley. We'll be right back.